last time you came on, you were loopy as anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Today you look a lot more, other than the tattoos all over your body, straight-laced.
Right. Well, they're not all over my body. Well,
I don't know that. I think
later.
they are. I think I've seen there's one here, right?
There is one.
Yeah.
There's actually 3 going across.
Okay. Are there any in the lower?
No,
extremities?
not there. No.
So
why are you into?
I'm not into tattoos.
Art?
Well, there's a part of me that's, I don't know, I have very conflicted feelings. I both hate them, and if I hate them, that means secretly I might like them, right?
Yeah.
Right. So anyways, let's move on.
Maybe you'll want to tattoo me at some point. You know, if we end up in the pokey together.
Here we go again.
My God, you look embarrassed.
No, I'm never embarrassed. That's just...
So yeah, the last time I was here, which was the first time, 2 years, 11 months, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, okay.
I've been up for 72 hours straight.
Yeah.
Making a film.
Yeah.
For
and now you've gone corporate.
I've gone totally corporate. Yeah.
Because you're making these films, and we have a clip. Should we show the clip? Let's show the very beginning. Let's turn off the lights and show the clip. This is just the beginning, the intro from the Crack documentary for the National Geographic Channel.
From the slums of South America to the mean streets of the USA, crack cocaine fuels crime and violence like no other drug on the planet.
Some people bungee jump, I sell narcotics.
Whether smoked or injected, crack gives users a short, powerful high.
It's better than sex. Una coca excelente para exportación.
It's deadly, addictive, and users will do anything to get it.
Drugs and burglary goes hand in hand.
This film takes you inside the world of producers, traffickers, dealers, users, doctors, and cops.
Another day in paradise.
Who all make up the $320 billion industry that is Drugs, Inc.
Woo,
Can we get the lights? Thirsty.
Thirsty. So, and that's, by the way, it's airing on the 19th, I believe, at either 11 a.m. or 12 p.m. I should have written that down.
Yeah, it premiered on January 1st.
But they keep showing it a lot.
They repeat it, and they will continue to repeat it.
Because people are addicted to that documentary.
Yeah, they are.
They need their fix.
Yeah, I mean, people love drugs. All right.
Well, let's get right into it, because one of the fascinating things about both this documentary, which you were a producer on, and of the films that you've made for your own production company, is that the users you talk to, the addicts that you talk to, do not seem what I expected. They don't seem completely... They seem in many ways damaged and wrecked, but they don't seem completely out of it, and they seem completely self-aware, or not completely, but they seem self-aware of their situation. They don't want to necessarily go to rehab, but they're okay with what they're doing in a weird way. Does that make sense to you, what I'm saying?
It makes perfectly good sense. I mean, I think you've stated the case really well. It takes a long time to get to the point where not only you're dealing with an addiction day in and day out, you're feeding the addiction, but you're also willing to let a camera crew come into your house and document you. You have to have come to a point of comfort, I think, with your use. And you know, all of the people that you see, almost all of the people that you see in the films that we make, we've gotten to know through one or another harm reduction outreach service. And harm reduction, I mean, if you look at kind of the prevailing paradigms, you know, abstinence only or, you know, full-on legalized, harm reduction is somewhere in a murky middle, which is, you know, people are going to use drugs. For as long as we've had written records of society, people have been using substances to alter their consciousness. It's just part of what we do as humans. Harm reduction is all about minimizing the possible damage, really minimizing the harm associated with that use, the harm at the individual level, the harm at the family level, community, and so forth. So we've gotten to know all of these people, and harm reduction practitioners who are working in needle exchanges and methadone clinics and so on. They don't preach abstinence. They don't say, "Oh, you should stop. This is really bad for you." And if you're smoking crack, like one of the guys you saw in here, Jeff, he smokes crack every 20 minutes for 20 hours of every day, and has been for about 24 years. He knows it's bad for him. He doesn't need anybody to tell him that. So, one of the things I did years ago was teach Jeff how to smoke crack more safely. Because one of the things I do is harm reduction outreach. I'm a harm reduction worker. So the films, most of every film that we've ever made has somehow stemmed from the harm reduction kind of outreach that we've done at street level. But yeah, people who are in their addictions, the addiction, it reduces life to the point of the needle or to the end of the crack pipe. And in many ways, life becomes very regimented, very lockstep, and you won't find a more organized, orderly, regimented person than a heroin addict, say. Because they've divided their lives into 4-hour increments. Every 4 hours, they've got to have a fix, or they will literally start shitting themselves.
Is it always a life of misery, or is there joy? Can there be a sense of normalcy? Is behind the drug addiction always some deep-seated depression?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's joy, there's happiness, and I've lived in. My work really demands that I move into these places, move into crack houses or shooting galleries, abandoned, salvage brickyards, shanty towns by train tracks, and experience life as people there are experiencing it. Though the big difference is that I can always get on a train and go home or call somebody and have them pick me up.
Yeah.
And they can't. But notwithstanding their, relative, confinement to the situation, yeah, absolutely. There's joy, there's happiness, there's cutting up.
There's community.
There's community. They remember each other's birthdays. They save each other from overdoses. They get each other gifts now and again. They share their dope or their rock or whatever they might have on them. They grieve when someone dies. So, yeah, I read something today. Some addiction expert was saying that one of the problems with drug-using groups is that drug users have no culture, like Indianapolis. And
good callback.
Right, I just pulled that right up.
I like
pretty
that.
damn good, huh?
Yeah.
I've been waiting all night to deliver that line. God, with Steve sitting behind me, it's fucking nerve-wracking. No, you just to say something smart. He's such a learned guy.
But you're a professor at DePaul.
Yes, I am. I am.
You're tenured too, right?
I am. I can say whatever the fuck I want. I can do whatever I want. I would have to probably commit a violent crime against a student in front of the president, even to be considered for discipline.
That's a great system we have.
It is. I know, right? Lifetime employment. And so I just do as little as possible.
Well, let me ask you about DePaul. That's a Catholic institution. Is there any of that contraception with insurance? Was there any of that thing going on at DePaul? Can you get contraception?
I don't know. You'd have to actually ask my wife, and she would have to then disclose her contraceptive issues. But
no, you could answer the question straight instead of embarrassing me and your wife at the same time.
Or we can embarrass your wife.
I already did that.
She's here. Yeah, you did. That's true. Gina, he's terrible. God. And another thing is, I live in Oak Park, and now Steve lives in Oak Park, and fucking Kotlowitz lives in Oak Park. Yeah. And you know what? That bastard.
That bastard? He's the nicest guy in the world.
Oh, no, I think he's
Alex Kotlowitz is the nicest guy.
He's a monster. Nah, I'm kidding. He's a very sweet guy, but I made sure to put his kid on the worst Little League team for 3 years running. I'm like, you know what? You write about adversity and overcoming challenges. Let's see. Let's just see.
Can I ask you a question about Oak Park Little League?
You can ask me a question.
Let's move on.
We should.
There are two
contraception. I will say one thing.
Can you get contraception if you work at DePaul?
No. Well, yes, I think you can now, but for a while, insurance will not cover contraception. Yeah. And that's problematic. And we also can't distribute condoms on campus.
But you could because you're tenured.
I do distribute condoms. In every public health class that I teach, I make it known that students can get syringes, all the paraphernalia they need to shoot dope, smoke rocks, and have sex. Anal, vaginal, oral.
Yep. Yep.
Any of those three. I've got all the
I
supplies.
don't even know what to say to that.
Right there in my office.
Note to self.
I even throw...
When Saul and Theo reach college age, do not let apply to DePaul.
Yeah. Well, they can go to DePaul. They just shouldn't take any of my classes.
Yeah.
Because I use those things as incentives.
God, I just pictured my son reaching the age where he has to deal with those issues.
Saul, and I'm throwing him a needle. Like for participation in
No,
class.
but you don't do it because you want people. Let's get this out there.
No.
You do not want people to use or abuse drugs.
No. And this is a common argument, actually, against the provision of sterile syringes, which is the only known measured effective intervention for reducing HIV among injection drug users, providing sterile syringes. It's the only thing that we know works, and it's the one thing the federal government refuses to fund. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you woke up one morning, you came downstairs, and you found 5,000 forks piled up, brand new forks, really nice forks, piled up on your kitchen table, your dining room table, would you be hungrier than ordinarily you would be?
You're saying that I could hold all those forks at once, stab them into something, a big turkey.
Would those, like the presence of those
No,
forks
I'd eat the
alone?
same.
No,
I'd eat
of
the
course not, right? No. So syringes, the presence of sterile syringes, access to them, their greater accessibility, whatever, these things are not correlated with increased use or increased likelihood of first-time use or any of that.
Should drugs
bullshit.
be legal?
That's a huge. Which drugs? I mean, it gets very complicated. I'm not one to come straight out of the box, just sort of unthinkingly, knee-jerk response. Yeah, all drugs should be legal, because I don't. I think we have to have a serious, long conversation about that. Which ones and how to regulate and what to do with underground markets, which always will crop up. There are underground markets for cigarettes and for alcohol, which are the two most dangerous drugs in the world.
There are still underground markets for cigarettes?
Yep. Yep,
So-
they're bootlegged into Chicago every day.
Huh, I didn't.
That's where I buy mine.
Now,
Now, ask me about DePaul. No, but Little League.
Little League, yeah, okay. So there are two. I had a fight with this. Not a fight. A debate with my wife.
All right.
Forget that.
Was
part
it a
of
fight or a
no,
debate?
No, it wasn't a fight.
Gina?
It was a. No. It was a warm discussion.
Okay.
There are two types of t-ball for the kids.
Good and bad.
Riff
Riff. Yeah, reduced injury factor.
and the regular ball.
Yeah, the hardball. The so-called hardball.
Where do you come down?
Hardball. Hardball. Riff, it's ridiculous. I mean, they've done all these field studies and, accident injury studies. And, I think every 5-year-old should get hit in the face with a ball.
Do you hear that,
First of
Gina?
all, wait.
This is coming from a guy who gives needles to his students. I think I won the argument.
How old is Saul?
Saul is 6.5.
All right.
He's getting ready to play t-ball for the first time.
Who taught him to catch?
I did.
Did you teach him with a glove or without?
With a glove.
Mistake.
Why?
Mistake. You
Wait,
should
wait, wait.
always teach a kid to catch without a glove first.
Well, we've got a baby too.
They
so I
become
can do
over.
that.
Okay.
Oh, well,
teach
when he's
the
a baby caught with just hands, he's not afraid of the ball. Saul.
The baby?
Saul.
Oh,
Saul's not afraid of the ball.
Right. No, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Let's
but
move on from my children back to sex workers and drug addicts.
But reduced injury factor cause more injuries, and they
Why?
actually
Interesting.
increase kids' fear of the ball.
Well, that's what my argument
because they
was.
bounce around a lot more.
Oh, so the ball actually does do more damage.
The ball, it doesn't do, for each injury, the injury from a hard ball is going to be slightly more severe, only slightly, almost undetectable.
What if they just played with bubbles?
We wouldn't call it baseball, we'd call it bubble ball, and we probably wouldn't have leagues for it.
Last question. You go and you have very good relationships with the people that you embed yourself with, but you've been hurt,
Yes.
not just emotionally, but physically.
Yeah, I've emotionally and physically. I have been.
So talk about that.
Okay, well,
Talk about your wounds.
It's interesting. In early September, we got funding to do 4 or 5 days of filming in a shooting gallery, an abandoned house on the west side of Chicago, roughly at Arlington and Cicero Avenue. And into that house, about a dozen crack smokers and injection drug users, heroin users, had moved. And I knew basically all of them. And so we got funding to do what they call a sizzler or a teaser, which is a very short, usually somewhere between like a trailer and a short documentary. And the idea is to use this to pitch to networks to get a series, which we were going to call Drug House. And the idea is this kind of verite observational documentary moving in for 6 weeks to drug houses all across the US and really just getting to know the people there, their lives, their hopes, their aspirations, their dreams, where things went down this particular path for them, and so on. And so we got the funding. We started to do the filming. We were there for 3 days. And at the end of the third day, we were getting ready to leave. We were packing up. We go out the back door, and we're, making our way down the gangway. Now, there are 7 people walking out. There's 6 people behind me. I'm in the front of the line. We're going up the gangway toward the front of the house where the car is parked. And I haven't really actually told this story publicly, but there's a group of young guys standing at the end of the gangway on the sidewalk. And there are 6 people behind me, the crew carrying equipment. Some of the people who live in the house were also helping to carry equipment. It's a lot of equipment. And I see these guys, and they're starting to come down the gangway. They see me, and they immediately kind of, head out toward the street away from us. And I knew right then that something was amiss. I'm like, this is something's fucked up about this. I need to turn around. But I had 6 people behind me, and it would have been like Keystone Cops, right? So I just plow ahead, and I've got the camera around, around my shoulder. So we get out to the sidewalk, and 3 are on one side, 4 on the other, and I just look up to say, hey, what's up? Make eye contact. And I didn't even get the words out of my mouth, and I was smashed in the face with a cinder block.
Oh, my word.
Yeah. And I was knocked unconscious for about 10 minutes. I woke up, and I was being put into an ambulance, taken to Loretto Hospital, of all places. Not one I would recommend.
Well, it's right there on the west side. Yeah.
It is right there, I suppose.
So last question, what keeps you doing it then? I mean, most people would say, cinder block to the head, done.
Well, I was like 2 days later, I was out. I mean, I had a concussion and multiple injuries, and my face was all battered. I actually sent you some pictures.
I saw that. For the last few days, you're like, talk about this injury I got.
Yeah,
I loved it. I loved it.
It was awesome. Let's talk about it, man. Yeah. Well, in fact, I was set up. The guy, one of the people who was in the film, in fact, the guy who blew crack smoke into he set me up. He was upstairs.
Really?
He wanted to be part of this. And he also, at the same time, he was trying to shake me down for money the whole time that we were there. And I kept telling him, I'm not giving you anything. I'm not giving you anything. And he's like, well, then give me your watch. And I'm like, I'm not giving you my watch. It's a Timex. You're not going to get anything for it. Yeah. Plus, I like it. But he was upstairs calling these guys who were at the end of the street. And this is what I later found out. But yeah, so he coordinated the whole thing, and they nailed me. But the camera they stole was not the main camera. So you got your stuff. We got our stuff. What keeps me doing it? I don't know. I mean, that's one time in 12 years when I've been seriously injured, been attacked by someone, and that's not bad.
Yeah, no, that's good.
He really wanted crack, and he was dope sick, so I give him a pass.
Well, Greg, thanks for coming by. Will you come back sometime?
I will. I will.
Greg Scott, everyone.